Where do I go to find?
I am fasting because words alone are not enough to express my deep opposition to this unconscionable plan to invade Iraq. It is not acceptable to me that this action be taken in my name or the names of other American women and our families, especially women of color who know what it means for our lives to be considered worthless.
As human beings, we're supposed to treat others as we would want to be treated. Sit down and consider, would you want this to happen to your own children? If you're a mother, if you're a grandmother, if you have sisters and brothers, would you want your family to be treated like this? And I think that the answer would come very quickly and very clearly that no. The poor children and women in Iraq didn't do anything to the United States to deserve this.
Awaken to your power.
We decided that we did want to work as women and that Daddy got us into this and we're going to have to get ourselves out of it.
Awaken to your power.
Well, I think it's a very sort of profound and important way to make a statement that is not just verbal, that speaks to people's souls.
Awaken to your power.
Well, when you ask me, why I think our leaders are taking us to war, it's interesting that I can't immediately come up with a good answer. Anytime that someone says we don't have a choice, I start not to trust them. I am fasting to express my opposition to the U.S. waging war in Iraq. That this opposition spreads across the nation.
When I waked up this morning, I remembered hearing that a rare sight of Venus was to be visible but when I came and looked at the window, I could only see Mars, not Venus. I was disappointed, but when I thought about it, it seemed a little metaphor about how the consciousness of this looming war takes up so much of my attention these days and weighs down my spirit since 9/11. Having a quiet time here to feel connected to other women concerned about peace.
There were those who didn't care about praying, the young ones, the ones who had been to America. They told the old ones, "You are wasting your time." Time? The old ones prayed for the young ones. They prayed for Allah to mend their brain. One of the women in the book wrote an alphabet of words, and the last word was zest. And I don't want to forget.
That's nice. Not nice. Where? It doesn't matter. Okay.
جو أول مرة هنا الصبح جو هنا افتروا بكل المنطقة وراحوا جابوا الدرع هنا تقدموا علينا ذاك العتاد مكون بكتة مدرعات اثنين
يعني يضربون عليه بس بكتة
بكتة وقاذفة
قاذفة
اي
يا سيدي بعدكم هنا عايشين لو
اي لا والله عايشين هنا
ليش سووا؟
ما عندنا مكان غيره وين نروح ورا ما اخذوا الولد قمنا نشتغل بالكرك كنا ما نعرف نشتغل بالكرك قمنا نشتغل بالكرك ونسقي ونفلح يعني كنا كل شيء ما نعرف كانوا نوزلهم كل شيء ما نشتغل.
Look at Iraq for the last year, so many explosions, so many people are killed, innocent people, civilians, and so many places are targeted, so many explosions. Just in the last 2 days, 4 or 5 explosions in Baghdad and in other places of Iraq, and for the last 11 months, 12 months, a year, many explosions. Where is the security? Women cannot go out alone, especially in the afternoon and at night. Even in fact, even in the morning, I hear many stories about women who work, for example, teachers or employees who are being kidnapped when they go to their work, who are being shot, dead, who are being abused. So for women, no, the security situation is really bad, and not only for women, for all the people.
Human Rights Watch put a very long report on this issue, and they worked on more than 70 cases, but they documented 28 cases in that report. I mean, you can hear about women you know, at least 3 cases, women I know, who were raped. One of them was over 50 years old. But why this happened, I mean, there could be many reasons. But I think the main reason was that the absence of authority, the absence of security.
Many of you may know that women in Iraq lived much better conditions than other women in that area, in the Middle East. We were much better off when it came to access to education, access to work, and also in rights, and that had a reason for it. The progressive movement in Iraq has started early on. By 1958, almost 45,000 Iraqi women were organized under what's called Women's League, and they did huge demonstrations on the streets and were able to change some of the civil laws. And most of those included articles of the law that were based on Islamic Sharia. Can you imagine, more than 50 years ago, there was a strong women's movement in Iraq.
The goal of this is discrimination is for the fair representation for the women in the transitional government. We want the women to take place in this transition government because we don't want only the man take a place for these places. Why should the woman be in this position? Because she is able to do everything the man can do. We always talk about the democracy. I think democracy is not being established when the woman is not in this place.
أحب كل الناس تقول وياي نعم للنساء، نعم للمساواة، نعم للنساء، نعم للمساواة، نعم للنساء، نعم للمساواة. Especially politically, women cannot be oppressed anymore. We need to be everywhere. We need to be on all councils, and our numbers are 60%. We are more than half the society. Nobody can keep us down anymore. We want representation. We want councils that have policies that are friendly for women. We want equality between men and women. Long live equality between men and women in Iraq. Long live equality.
Women in Black started in Buffalo in October of 2001, shortly after we started bombing Afghanistan. It came out of a discussion group, one of many here in Buffalo, New York, that were holding meetings about September 11th, 2001. It's a model that we borrowed from women in Israel, who started a Women in Black group in 1988 in response to their government's policies, particularly concerning the Jewish settlement and failure to